I'm Anna Mantzaris, and I'm here from Stockholm, Sweden, and I am a filmmaker, director, and animator working in stop motion. My path was never like, it's just been like step by step. It was never like a goal from the beginning. So I was never like into animation as a kid or really wanted to do animation, but I've always been like drawing a lot. And I was like the kid in class that was good at drawing. And I always liked to like make things with my hands and build things and play with materials. So after I graduated, I went to like an art foundation school and just to kind of figure out a little bit what I wanted to do or like to try it out. And I enjoyed it, but I really wanted to work with something that was creative. I just like somehow stumbled upon animation and it just seemed like intuitively very interesting because it's like, it's very creative, it's very visual, it's very artistic, but it also has the element of like storytelling and of film. And it's less like isolating as maybe like, it just felt like it didn't feel like I was like an artist who sits alone. It's just like, it just seems fun that you work with other people and you make a film, but you also make art and you also work like visually. So it just like really interested me. And then I studied animation in Volda University College in Norway. And I went there for 3 years and I thought I would be doing 2D animation because I come more from like sketching, but then we had like a workshop in stop motion and I just really fell in love with the medium and like that has been what I've been doing since then. So after that, I worked for a few years as an animator, mainly on a lot of different like feature films. And this is not like exactly what I want to do. I want to like, why should I work for someone else's film when I can do my own film? And I want to decide the look and the story and build things. So then I decided to take an MA at the Royal College of Art in London, just to have the time and the space to focus on my own work and to like develop a bit more find my own voice, a bit more my own style. And so after the MA, I stayed around in London because there's a quite big like stop motion industry there, and I got represented by Passion Animation Studios as a director just straight after. And I also had a short film that was doing really well and was like being seen a lot and got awards and like kind of, a lot of people saw it, and I got like quite a lot of commissions directing stop motion. So I just sticked around in London for a few years and worked in that industry. And then COVID came and I moved back to Sweden. I thought I would do 2D like when I first started to get into animation, but I just really love the medium. I think it's so nice to like not be in front of the screen all the time, and it's so nice to get to work with different materials and work with your hands, and it's just like such a enjoyable process. I think I find it more than any other medium. It's just the whole thing, and it's so versatile. It's like you first sit and write and sketch, and then you build it, and then you light it like a film set, and then you animate and it comes to life. So it's like every stage is a bit different from the other one, but it's all like quite fun. Every animation is the same. It's like creating the illusion of movement, but it is just something like much more satisfying for me to have like a real puppet. And some people who do 3D may feel like they have much less control and they have more control in the computer, but I feel like I have the most control when it's actually like a real object in front of me, and it's just very like satisfying seeing it like coming to life, and you feel like a bit like a god, or you have control when you can like make this like stick puppet like have emotions, and then having the audience feeling emotions by watching this puppet that you kind of infused with emotions. There's something like a bit powerful about that as well. I just think it's fun, and I think my inspiration comes from a lot of places, but more outside of animation than in animation. So a lot of like live action directors and movies that I really like, and also it's less about like telling a long story and more about like observations and feelings. And I just wanted to do that, and I think a lot of inspiration also comes from things I see in everyday life. And I have a lot of empathy for us, but also if you like zoom out, we can be a bit stupid sometimes, or we're so small at the end of the world, and that's something that interests me. Like the flaws that we have and like kind of bringing out the imperfections or like the struggles or like how we navigate and kind of being a bit observational in the storytelling, but still having empathy for the characters, not like mocking them, but it's more like taking a step back and looking at it, but still making it very kind of relatable for whoever is watching. The process is that normally it's kind of start with a feeling or a concept or a subject that I'm interested in, rather than like a story or a narrative. It's more like I want to explore, like, I don't know, our inner frustration or how we go about to find love, or like if there's like it's more like a broader theme that I'm interested in. And then normally I work very like not linear with the story. So if I do my own films, kind of I start to collect a lot of different ideas and I do research and I just try to think like as many things as possible within the subject that interests me, that I think are good or relevant scenes or funny scenes that I want to bring in. And then kind of try to see like, is there a pattern there, or like what is the story there, or what is the narrative, and how can I structure it? Like, what is the beginning, what is the end? It's like very late that I have like a written script, like, because I'm not so good at writing. I think I'm very like visual when I think about the stories, and that's why I think I have very little dialogue, because I like to create like images and see if you can like understand the story from the setting and how the characters act and what they do, and like push that a bit more extreme rather than like having the dialogue driven. And I think that's just because that's easier for me. I will use a script like as a support, but I will like more like trying to find it through that way of working the story. And then I'm like, okay, I guess this story, and I will maybe write it in a script, because I maybe send it to someone to have a look and give me feedback. So there is a script, but the script is never like what comes first. Sometimes I may have an idea in my head, but then when I sketch it, it doesn't work as well. Or I maybe have an idea that feels so and so, but I sketch it and it's like turns out quite nice. So I think sketching the storyboard also comes quite early as part of the process. And then, then I will do like an animatic and figure out the timing and the order. And there I will also like play around a bit with the order, and then I will change the script, and then I will go back to the animatic. So it's just a lot like back and forth between all of those, like storyboard and animatic and script. Then I will do like character design and design of the world, and then I would start to build. And then it really depends on the budget, like how much if I build. Normally I always build my own puppets, but if I have budget, I work like with the costume makers who make the puppet clothes, and I normally try to outsource the set build, because I feel like that's something I'm less good at and a little bit less. I'm already doing a lot of stuff, so I'm very happy to work with someone who's good at spend some months building everything, and then animating and setting it up, like lighting and camera, and doing the animation. So like when I worked a lot in the UK, so I do have a lot of like people there I like working with. But now since I moved to Sweden, I also found people here that I'm working with. But it's I have some people I always work with. I always have the same DOP when I can. I like what she does and she knows what I want. So I do have some people that I try to always bring in. But then it depends on like where it's being animated. Like my commissions, I still animate in London. And then like when I've done my recent short film, we shot like in south of Sweden and in Prague and in France because of the funding. So then I had to work with like local animators. So it really depends a lot. I think doing the European co-production is the only way like I can fund my films. If you don't get enough money in Sweden to make a short film, you apply in France, but then that money needs to be reinvested in France. So it needs to go to some people in France working. Then if you get money from Czech Republic, that needs to be reinvested there. But also you can do, like we did a little bit, we got some Norwegian money, and then we gave that to a salary to Norwegian animators that came here to work. Oh. So that's a way to do it. But because my film had like so many different locations and so many different puppets, we had to also put the build and the production in more different countries. That we couldn't only like bring bring people here. I mean, the short films are there because people are filmmakers and artists and directors, and they want to tell stories. A commission can be fun, but that's always someone else's story, and you do short films because you want to tell your own story. And especially animation, which is more expensive and more time-consuming, it's much more difficult to make a feature. So the short film world is much more important, I think, or dominant in animation, maybe compared to live action, because it is more expensive and time-consuming. So it's a big scene, and I think it's very important because it's culture, and it's like people want to tell their stories, show their craft, and work on something that is not a product. If you want to make money, you're not in the animation industry from the beginning. And then like I've been like supporting myself by directing commissions, and that's how I managed to like pay my rent and support myself and have an income. But I think if you are in the animation industry, you're already interested in like doing craft and telling your stories, and you are there for the medium, not for the money, but you still want to find a way to like have a good life. I use humor because I think it's fun, or I use it because that's the way I'm thinking. I'm not thinking like, okay, I'm going to do something funny. I'm rather like, oh, this is fun, I want to do this, or like, it will be fun if this happens. And I think it also is like a way of kind of disarming a little bit, so you can like maybe tell darker stories, or like, I think if people laugh, they automatically like feel with the character. And I think I also like to mix the humor with like sadness or darkness or something else. And I think it's just when you have that combination, it kind of is easier to, as an audience, to take in than if something is like only funny or only very dark or only very sad. I just think it's like life is not like that, life is like dark and funny at the same time, or there's like irony and there is stuff. So I think it's like, for me, it's just natural to mix it, and it's just something that comes naturally. Or like when I write something, or when I set something up, or when I make it up, it's like, oh, it would look really funny if it's like this, or like if the eyes are like this, or if this happened, that will be fun. So it just like I think this kind of dry humor that is a bit more like withdrawn is like done a lot in live action, and there's a lot of good like inspiration for me in it in live action, but I think it's less usual in animation. I think because animation you can do anything, the animation humor can often be quite like loud and like and bold and in your face, or a bit more extreme because you can do it. But I think there's something funny with like having the animation medium, but then having this very like withdrawn kind of dry humor that is more about the situation and the awkwardness or the character, rather than like something very kind of cartoony. I know that if I make a film, it's not for everyone. So I guess like I don't ask people, like I ask people for feedback, like how I can, but that's not if it's good or bad. That's more like what works, what doesn't work, how can I make it better? So it's kind of more constructive. And then I know that not everyone is gonna like it, but of course I want like a broader audience to like it. But I think the only way to figure that out is like if I really like it at the core, I know other people are going to like it. But if I am a bit like, oh, I don't know what I'm doing, I don't know what is like, if it's not clear to me, it's not clear to anyone else. I think you just have to like find a way to trust your gut when you're making films, and like not second guessing too much, just like connect with your gut feeling a bit of like what do I think actually this is funny, or I think actually this is good. Then I think it will resonate with others. I mean, the criticism would be more like you don't get accepted to festivals, or you pitch for a job that you don't get. So it's more like criticism is like silent criticisms in a sense. It's not like I show something to someone and they're like, this is bad, or like, I don't like this. It's more like, okay, you don't get accepted to the festival. But I think I'm built quite well to handle with that. At least now that I'm old. I don't think that my stories come so much from like me and what I am feeling as much as like a subject that interests me, that I'm drawn to. And of course I relate to it in a personal way. Like now I'm doing a film about like neediness and romance and like connection. And of course I have my personal relations to that, but it's more that a fascination of like, how do we go about in our society to try to be loved, or what do we do for people to love us, or like how do we handle that, like we can feel really needy but we are not allowed to show that we're needy, or like all of these like clashes and feelings around that. So it's I think the inspiration comes from things that interests me and I somehow of course would have a connection to, but it's not something that like I'm telling my personal story in that sense. It's more, I'm more exploring a subject that I think is like interesting to me. I think there's a red thread in my work that I'm always interested in like characters and in humanity, and like kind of seeing us as a humanity a bit from a distance, and seeing like the fun and the dark side at the same time, kind of but with empathy in a way. So I think that's what like is the red thread in my work, but I don't know what means the most to me, to be honest. It's different. Like whatever project you're in at the moment, of course, means the most because you're in it and you try to do the best out of it. And then when it's done, and you're tired of it and you want to do another project because you spent a year on it or you spent many months of it and you're like, no, I want to do something else now. So, I mean, of course, I want to do like bigger and bigger projects. But there's something like when I've done commission, I've done like really low budget, and then I've done very high budget. And I've sometimes also really enjoyed the low budget stuff. Yeah, I think everyone who is like in a like animation filmmaker field is there because they do love the craft as well. Even if you want to have more resources and make bigger projects, there is something that like you started with it because you love the craft. It can also be like a privilege to work with people that are much better than you and that are very specialized in their field if there is a good collaboration. But there's also more kind of risk of losing control of some things. But if you work on a really small scale project, you maybe have not the same level. You can't get the same level on it, but you have another kind of creative control that you don't have on a bigger project. So I feel like there's good and bad in both of them.